Hey guys, Matt here. I want to do a video real quick today talking about a particular topic that I've seen come up a lot lately, especially here in the last month, as it relates to the term arms. All right, I've been seeing a lot of comments, a lot of PMs on my videos, other videos. You know, this idea that what does the term arms mean in the Second Amendment? You know, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What does that mean? Of course, you have the anti-gun side of things that say, well, that means muskets because that's what was commonly used at the time. And I guess there were other types of weapons at that particular time, but what was most commonly used was muskets. And then there's the pro-gun side of things that say, well, arms should mean any weapon, any firearm, any sort of defensive or offensive tool. Okay, and so there's this back and forth going on a lot. So I wanted to put together a little bit of information for you guys out there, whether you're anti-gun, pro-gun, or maybe just on the fence about the whole issue. Maybe this will help you out in some way, all right? The first thing we need to understand when it comes to defining this term arms is we have to understand the people who wrote the Second Amendment, who wrote the Bill of Rights, who wrote the Constitution, who wrote the Declaration of Independence. We have to understand it. We have to understand, if you've done any sort of research, they were very, very intelligent people. They were very well educated and they had a great command of the original English language. They understood what words meant. All right? Unlike us today, which our English language is mostly made up of slang terms and even nowadays internet speak. So again, we're very far off from the way they understood words. All right? So then we have to understand, well, if they understood the traditional English definition of the word arms, what is that? Well, to understand that, we have to go back even further, because the original word arms in English came around the 13th century, and it was derived, like much of our language, from Latin, and that is the original word. The original Latin word for arms was arma. All right? So we first have to understand what that means, okay? The definition of arma is defensive arms, offensive arms, armor, weapons of war, tools of war, military power. That is what arma meant, okay? Now, like a lot of our languages translated over into English, it became arms around the 13th century. This is the traditional use of the word, right? This is the way the founders would have understood what arms meant. A means as a weapon of offense, defense, especially a firearm, military, firearms, ordnance, gunnery, artillery, weapons collectively. In other words, collectively speaking, an arm, okay, is military firearms, military ordnance, military gunnery, military artillery, collectively, all as one. That is an arm, okay? So essentially what it boils down to, arms, as the founders understood it, okay, because they understood the English language, they understood what the definition of these words were military weapons, okay? Not just guns, not just muskets, but we're talking cannons, ordnance, artillery, everything. Okay? If you look back in history, you saw many examples throughout the Revolutionary War and through the signing of the Declaration of Independence and through the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I mean, there were individuals who had cannons. You would go into a community, and sometimes it would be a community artillery cannon that would be somewhere. Sometimes it would be privately owned. Sometimes there would be several cannons owned by landowners. Back then, they had military weapons. Okay, we talk about muskets a lot, but they had other things. This is what the term arms means. This is how it's defined. This is what it would have meant to the founders. This is what the Second Amendment means. Now, why is that? Why did they want us to have military weapons? Why did they want us to have cannons and artillery and ordnance? Because this is what would most likely be used against us by a tyrannical government. That's what they wanted us to defend against. Tyranny, whether it's our government, another government, criminals, whatever it might be. They wanted us to have the ability to stop something before it started. Because make no mistake, they did not want us to ever go to war with our government. They simply wanted us to have these so that our government would never want to start a war in the first place.